Everyone has heard of the English colonisation and settlement of Australia, New Zealand, America, etc., but what many may not have heard of is the immigration endeavours of England's smaller neighbour, Wales. In this video, I'm going to be discussing but one of these endeavours with the fascinating story of the Welsh immigration into Argentina, of all places. The idea of a Welsh colony in Patagonia, which is a name used to refer to the southern parts of South America, was first put forward by Michael D. Jones, who was a Welsh nationalist, nonconformist preacher. He had spent some years in the United States, where he observed that Welsh immigrants assimilated very quickly compared with other peoples, and often lost much of their Welsh identity, which, being a nationalist, obviously concerned him. In response to this issue, he started calling for a new Little Wales beyond Wales. This would involve setting up a Welsh-speaking colony away from the influence of the English language. As for a location of where this new Wales would be, Australia, New Zealand, and even Palestine were considered, but Patagonia would eventually be chosen due to its isolation and the Argentines' offer of 260 square kilometres, or 100 square miles, of land along the Chubut River in exchange for settling the still unconquered land of Patagonia for Argentina. Eager to pounce on this opportunity, towards the end of 1862, Captain Love Jones Parry and Lewis Jones left for Patagonia to decide whether it was a suitable area for Welsh immigrants. They first arrived in Buenos Aires, where they held discussions with the Interior Minister, Guillermo Rawson. After having come to an agreement, they headed south towards Patagonia. They reached their destination in a ship named the Candelaria, and were driven by a storm into a bay which they named Port Madryn. The town that grew near the spot where they landed is now named Puerto Madryn, and is now home to some 90,000 inhabitants, some of which still speak Welsh, and many of which have Welsh heritage. Given that little fact, I'm sure you can see where this is going. Upon their return to Wales, the men declared the area to be very suitable for colonisation, and on the 28th of July, 1865, 153 Welsh settlers arrived in the area. These settlers comprised 56 married adults, 33 single or widowed men, 12 single women, and 52 children. Unfortunately, they didn't think to bring many farmers, which would come to bite them when they realised the area they were settling had been massively oversold, and they had landed in an arid, semi-desert, with little food and not the lowland, Welsh-like climate they had been told. At the coast there was little drinking water, but still the group persisted, and they embarked on a walk across the parched plain with a single wheelbarrow to carry their belongings. Unsurprisingly, some died on this treacherous journey, but more surprisingly, a baby, Mary Humphreys, was born on the march. Predictably, the settlers were very disheartened with their current situation, and some even requested that the British government settle them on the Falkland Islands. Unluckily for them, though, this request was ignored. Once they had finally reached the valley of the Chubut River, their first settlement was a small fortress on the site which later became the town of Rawson, now home to a little under 25,000 people, and the capital of the Chubut province. The first actual houses built on the land were constructed from earth and were subsequently washed away by a flash flood in 1865, and new houses of superior quality were built to replace them. These floods, which hit them on the same year of their arrival, also washed away crops of potatoes and maize, adding to the settlers' troubles. To make matters even worse for them, the rainfall in the area was much less than they had been led to expect by the Argentines, which led to crop failure. Given all these troubles, you understandably may be questioning how on earth this colony survived, and well, that's where some of the natives of the area come in. The settlers first made contact with the local Tehuelche people almost a year after their arrival. After some difficult early years of suspicion and some violence, the natives established cordial relationships with the Welsh and helped the settlement survive the early food shortages. After these initial troubles, and with the help of the natives, the colony became pretty successful in the coming years, and even won the gold medal for wheat production at international expositions at Paris and Chicago in 1885. They would unfortunately have to face one more trial before their colony was in the clear though, as the area suffered major floods during the 1890s and 1900s, which devastated the first settlement of Rawson, and to a lesser extent the later settlement of Gaiman. Around this time there was also disagreement between the settlers and the government of Argentina, which introduced conscription and insisted on males of military age drilling on Sundays. This caused much ill feeling towards the government, as it ran adjacent to the settlers' Sabbatarian principles. The matter was eventually resolved by the intervention of the president of Argentina, Julio Argentino Roca. However, it was a bit too late for some, as 234 of the settlers had already left for Liverpool in the May of 1902 due to all the previously mentioned reasons. Despite all this, by the end of the 19th century, there were some 4,000 people of Welsh descent living in Tubat. The last substantial migration from Wales into the area took place shortly before World War I, which ended up putting a halt to further immigration. Approximately 1,000 Welsh immigrants arrived in Patagonia between 1886 and 1911, but this immigration practically stopped altogether after 1911. Immigration to the area after 1914 was mainly from Italy and other southern European countries, which led to Welsh becoming a minority language in the area. In spite of all these trials and tribulations though, the language and culture of the original Welsh settlers has incredibly survived even up until present day, with there now being some 5,000 Welsh speakers in Argentina and around 50,000 people of Welsh descent. On top of this, the language and culture is not merely barely holding on as you might suspect either, as thousands of people are making the effort to learn the language of their forefathers every year in modern day Argentina, so perhaps this fascinating community's best days are yet to come. Well, that was the story of this fascinating settlement. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, if you had any ideas for things I should cover in the future, I would love to hear them. Also, if you'd like to see more content like this, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed and liked this video if you enjoyed it. But with all that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, night, wherever you are, and I hope to see you lovely people in the next one.